my students. Our lesson for today is going to be about direct and indirect speech. And in this lesson, we are going to cover the following points: define direct speech, define indirect speech, and explain how to formulate indirect speech. And this is teacher Manal discussing you the lesson. Let's start first with direct speech, and I will explain it through an example. Direct speech: she says, I am a little bit nervous. To define direct speech, we say it's the exact words of the speaker, the original words of the speaker. The speaker says here, I am a little bit nervous, so this is exactly what he has said. How we write direct speech? We use quotation marks. We put the direct speech within quotation marks. We start with she says or he says whatever, comma, then we use quotation marks and it should be written above the line. Inside the quotation marks, we should start writing capital letter. We continue our writing until we finish and end with punctuation. Then we close the quotation marks. So direct speech is also called quoted speech because it is put between two quotation marks. Now let's define the indirect speech. Definition of indirect speech. Indirect speech is also known as reported speech. In grammar, when you report someone else's statement in your own words without any change in the meaning of the statement, it is called indirect speech. Quoting a person's words without using his own word and bringing about any change in the meaning of the statement is a reported speech. Let's look at the following examples. The first one is direct speech, and as I mentioned before, it is written in quotation marks. Now let's see how to change it into indirect speech. She says that she is a little bit nervous. Here we have the same meaning, but here the speaker has reported what the speaker has said. So it's to report someone else's words. She says that she is a little bit nervous. So it's to say what someone has said. In the first sentence, the reporter conveys the message of the girl using her actual words. So direct speech is the actual words of the person, just as I mentioned before. In the second sentence, the reporter conveys her message but in his own words without any change in the meaning. Thus, both direct and indirect speeches are two different ways of reporting a statement of person. In simple words, quoting a person using your own words is called an indirect speech. Now, let's move into basic rules of how to follow in order to change into indirect speech. The first basic rules we should put in mind is the changes in person of pronouns. We have to change in pronouns. First person pronouns in reported speech are always changed according to the subject of the reporting speech. And when we say first person pronouns, we mean I as a first person singular pronoun and we as a first person plural pronoun. Second person pronouns in reported speech are always changed according to the object of the reporting verb. Second person pronouns, we mean the pronoun you. The third person pronouns in reported speech are not changed, and when we say third person pronouns, we mean he, she, it for singular pronouns and they for plural pronouns. And we will discuss later these rules later in the examples below. Now we also have changes in verbs, and this is also important. And let's see what are these changes. Changes in verbs. If the reporting speech is in present tense or future tense, then no change is required to be made in the verb of reported speech. We read and we discuss. Direct speech, he says, I am ill. Indirect speech, he says that he is ill. So the reporting verb here is in the present. So no change in the verb of reported speech. So it stays in the present. Here, the reporting verb is also in the present, and we have she sang a song. And in the reported speech, because the reporting verb is in the present, so no change in the verb. Also the same in the future. You say, I shall visit London. You say that you will visit London. So no changes in the verb used. If the reporting verb is in past tense, then reported verb will be changed as per the following criteria. So here we have different rules we must follow if the reported verb is in the past tense. Here we have a lot of the changes you have to make. The first rule says that present indefinite tense is changed into past indefinite tense. For example, in the direct speech we have they said. They take exercise every day. So the reported verb here is in the simple past tense. So the verb in the direct speech must be changed into simple past tense. It is in the simple present tense, so we have to change it into the past tense. They take exercise every day. We start with the subject of the sentence, then we use the verb, the reported verb said. We use that. We have the subject of the direct sentence they. Okay, we keep it. We change the main verb of the sentence into past because the rule says that present tense is changed into past tense. So take becomes took. And we continue the sentence as it is. We drop the quotation marks. In the indirect speech, we do not use quotation marks and we end with punctuation. Another rule for the past tense, for the verbs that are in the present continuous is changed into past continuous. If the tense of the direct speech is in the present continuous, that is verb be plus ing, so it should be changed into past continuous. They said they are taking exercise every day. They said that they were taking. Are taking becomes were taking exercise every day. We continue with the other rules. Present perfect is changed into past perfect. They said they have taken exercise. They said that they had taken exercise. So we read the rule, then we apply it in the example. Present perfect continuous tense is changed into past perfect continuous tense. They said, comma, quotation mark. This is a direct speech sentence. They have been taking exercise since morning. In the indirect speech, it becomes they said that they had been taking exercise since morning. Past indefinite is changed into past perfect. If we have a sentence in the simple past tense becomes past perfect. They said they took exercise. They said that they had taken exercise. Past continuous tense is also changed into past perfect continuous tense. Past continuous tense is changed into past perfect continuous tense. They said they were taking exercise. They said that they had been taking exercise. No changes are required to be made into past perfect and past perfect continuous tenses. They said they had taken exercise. Suppose we have a sentence that contains past perfect, so it remains the same, no change in it. They said that they had taken exercise. In future tenses, while no changes are made except shall and will are changed into would. So they will take exercise. In the direct speech becomes they said that they would take exercise. Please consider these rules and try to remind it. Now we will see the changes that must take place in changing from direct into indirect, and read some important word changes. You have to change these words when you have to change from direct to indirect. These words are like this becomes that. He says he wants to buy this book. He says that he wants to buy that book. So this becomes that. These becomes those. He says he wants to buy these books. He says that he wants to buy those books. Here becomes there. She says, these are sentences of direct speech. She says everybody was here. She says that everybody was there. Now becomes then. They say it's 10 o'clock now. They say that it's 10 o'clock now. Since the reporting verb is in the present, so no changes in the verb. Notice now here the reported verb is in the past. Sir becomes respectfully. They said, sir, the time is over. They said respectfully that the time was over. Also, madam becomes respectfully. They said, madam, the time is over. They said respectfully that the time was over. Today becomes that day. Yesterday becomes the previous day. Tomorrow becomes the following day or next day. Tonight becomes that night. Good morning, good evening, good day become greeted. She said, good morning, Sir David. She greeted Sir David. So please consider the changes in these words when you want to change from direct into indirect speech. Now, the following examples cover all the aforementioned rules, so focus on every sentence to know how the above mentioned rules have been used here. So let's see how these words are applied in the examples below. Okay, let's read some of them. He will say, my brother will help her. He will say that his brother will help her. We said we go for a walk every day. We said that we went for a walk every day. You say, I went to London yesterday. You say that you went to London the previous day. Here, no change in the tense because we have the reporting verb is in the present. But when the reported verb is in the past, he said, my father is playing cricket with me. He said that his father was playing cricket with him. They said, we have completed our homework. They said that they had completed their homework. She said, I have been waiting for him since last morning. She said that she had been waiting. Okay, present perfect continuous becomes past perfect continuous. Let's continue with more examples. She said, I bought a book. She said that she had bought a book. Okay, a tense in the past becomes past perfect. They said we were celebrating Eid yesterday. They said that they had been celebrating Eid the previous day. So yesterday becomes the previous day. Okay, we should have changes in some words, and we should change the tense in case we have a reported verb in the past. Okay, we said we had been waiting since morning. We said that we had been waiting since morning. When the tense is in the past perfect continuous, so no change it stays as it is. He said to me, I will not give you any medicine without prescription. He said to me that he would not give me any medicine without a prescription. So will becomes would. Rafiq said, I shall leave for London tomorrow. Rafiq said that he would leave for London the next day. So tomorrow becomes next day. She said, I shall be visiting my college tomorrow. She said that she would be visiting her college the following day. They said it will have been snowing since morning. They said that it would have been snowing since morning. So I hope you do consider all these rules in mind so you can benefit from any changing from active into passive. Now let's read some of assertive sentences and know how to change it into indirect speech. Sentences that make a statement are called assertive sentences. These sentences may be positive, negative, false, or true statements. So, assertive sentences are positive sentences, negative sentences, false or true statements. So, to convert such sentences into indirect narration, let's use the following rules. Direct speech, she says, I am writing a letter to my brother. She says that she is writing a letter to her brother. She says, I was not writing a negative statement. I was not writing a letter to my brother. She says that she was not writing a letter to her brother. She said to me, I am writing a letter to my brother. She told me that she was writing a letter to her brother. Now, let's discuss imperative sentences and know how to change them into indirect speech. Imperative sentences. What are imperative sentences? Imperative sentences are sentences that give an order or direct command, like shut the door, please shut the door, repair the door by tomorrow. How to change these imperative sentences into indirect speech? To change imperative sentences into indirect speech, we use infinitive. The teacher said to me, shut the door. The teacher ordered me to shut the door. But please pay attention that the reported verb becomes ordered and not said. When we want to change imperative sentences into indirect speech, keep in mind that the reported verb becomes ordered or commanded, and we use infinitive to change the command or the order. Let's read the examples below, please, and see and try to apply the rule. Examples in the direct speech for imperative sentences. We said to him, mind your own business. In the indirect speech, it becomes, we urged him to mind his own business. So, or we ordered him, or we suggested to him, or we commanded him to mind. So we change the order or the command into infinitive. The infinitive is using to plus the base form of the verb. To mind his own business, and sure we have no quotation marks in the indirect speech. She said to him, consult a doctor. She suggested him to consult a doctor. So you see here we use the infinitive to plus the main form of the verb to change the imperative into indirect speech. He said to me, write it again. He asked me to write it again. She said, you said to your father, please grant him leave for some time. You requested your father to grant him leave for some time. My mother said to me, never tell a lie. My mother forbade me to tell a lie. And now, this is according to imperative sentences, and let's now move into interrogative sentences. What we mean by interrogative sentences? Those sentences which ask questions are called interrogative sentences. And pay attention that interrogative sentences are every interrogative one ends at a sign of interrogation. Yani we have question marks at the end. Interrogative sentences could be yes-no questions as the following examples, or could be WH question. To convert interrogative sentences into indirect speech, follow the following rules along with the above mentioned rules. The reporting verb said is changed into asked. Let's read this through an example. I said to her, when do you do your homework? To change it into indirect speech, okay, the reported verb, okay, said is changed into asked. At every time I have a question, the reported verb must be asked, not said. So the reported verb said is changed into asked because it's a question. At any time we have yes, no question or WH question, we must use asked as a reported verb. I asked her, and if we have a WH question word, we keep it, okay, then we use the subject in front of the helping verb, and then we continue the sentence. The tense here is present, so we change it into past. I asked her when she did her homework, and no question mark is used. We end with a point. So please be careful in changing from direct into indirect the interrogative questions. Okay, and sure, no quotation marks are used in indirect speech. Suppose we have a yes no question. We said to him, are you ill? A yes no question is any question that can be answered with yes or no. Are you ill? In this case, we have to use if. So the reported verb is changed into asked. We asked him, okay, because we have here a yes no question that can be answered by yes or no, we must use if. Then the subject preceded, okay, the helping verb. Then the verb is used and we continue the sentence. No question marks are used. Okay, we end with a point. So the indirect speech sentence becomes, we asked him if he was ill. You said to me, have you read the article? This is another yes no question. Okay, you asked me. Okay, we use if, then the subject, then the verb. Here we have a verb in the past tense, so it becomes in the past perfect. And we continue the sentence and we end with a point and no quotation marks. He said to her, will you go to the Peshawar radio station? Okay, so as you see, the reported verb here is said. We have to change it into asked. So he asked her. We have to use if because it's a yes no question, not WH question. If she would go to the Peshawar radio station. Will becomes would. Okay, and it is preceded by the subject and ends with a point. She says, comma, who is he? This is a direct speech sentence. She says the reporting verb here is in the present, so it stays the same and the verb stays in the same tense. Okay, that we keep the WHE and we have to use the subject in front of the helping verb. So it becomes who he is and we end with a period. Rashid said to me, comma, before using direct speech, then start quotation marks in order to write the sentence of the question of the direct speech. Okay, all words are written between two quotation marks. Okay, and we have here a question mark before the quotation mark. We always end with quotation marks. Now let's change the sentence into indirect speech. We start with the speaker, Rashid. Said is changed into question because into a question word asked because it's a question, it's a WH question. Okay, so Rashid asked me. We keep the WH question word as you see here. Then we change you into I, the second person singular pronoun. It preceded the helping verb and we continue the sentence and we end with a period, no quotation marks. So Rashid asked me why I was late. That's how we change interrogative sentences into indirect speech. Please consider these rules and use them in order to know how to change from direct into indirect speech. Now, let's continue with exclamatory sentences. What are these sentences? Exclamatory sentences are sentences which express our feelings and emotions. Like that, hooray, we have won the match. Alas, he failed in the test. How beautiful that dog is. What a marvelous personality you are. To change exclamatory sentences into indirect speech, follow the following rules along with the above mentioned rules. Let's read and discuss what are these rules. In case there is an interjection, okay, like that, aha, hooray, in the reported speech, then they are omitted along with a sign of exclamation. In case reporting verb that is said is always replaced, okay, reporting verb said is always replaced with exclaimed with the joy, exclaimed with sorrow, exclaimed joyfully, exclaimed sorrowfully, or exclaimed with great wonder or sorrow. In case there is what or how at the beginning of the reported speech, then they are replaced with very or very great. In an indirect sentence, the exclamatory sentence becomes an assertive sentence. Let's see how we apply these rules in the examples below. He said, hooray, I have won the match. He exclaimed with great joy that he had won the match. Okay, see here. Hooray is dropped and we use exclaimed with great joy. And since the reported verb is in the past, okay, so we have to change the tense. And since the tense is in the present perfect, we change it into past perfect. Have won becomes had won. She said, Alice, my brother failed in the test. She exclaimed with great sorrow that her brother had failed in the test. So here um, the exclamatory word is dropped and we use exclaimed with great sorrow instead of it. Okay, no signs of exclamation marks. And since the tense is in the simple past tense, we change it into past perfect tense. They said, what a beautiful house this is. Here we started with what. So in the indirect speech, it becomes they exclaimed, okay, we changed into exclaimed, that that house was very beautiful. And as you notice, the subject must precede the verb. I said, how lucky I am. I said in great wonder that I was very lucky. You said to him, what a beautiful drama you're writing. You said to him in great wonder that he was writing a beautiful drama. Now, let's move into another kind of uh, indirect sentences, and we will read now optative sentences. Those sentences are sentences which express hope, prayer, or wish. Okay, so optative sentences are sentences of joy, of hope, of prayer, and wish. For example, may you succeed in the test. May you get well soon. Would that I were rich. To change optative sentences into indirect speech, follow the following rules along with the above mentioned rules. Let's see what are these rules. In case the reported speech started with the word may, then the reporting verb said is replaced with the word prayed. In case the reported speech starts with the word would, then the reporting verb said is replaced with the word wished. May is changed in might. Mark of exclamation is omitted. In indirect speech, the optative sentences become assertive sentences. Let's see how we apply this in the rules. He said to me, may you live long. He prayed that I might live long. May becomes might. And we used prayed instead. My mother said to me, may you succeed in the test. My mother, prayed that I might succeed in the test. She said, would that I were rich. She wished she had been rich. Simple past becomes past perfect. I said to him, would that you were here on Sunday. I wished he had been there on Sunday. You said to me, may you find your lost camera. You prayed that I might find my lost camera. So please consider the following rules and try to remember, as we started the definitions, that direct speech is the exact words of the speaker, and the indirect speech is to report what someone else has said. Please consider the rules I have just discussed. Pay attention of how to change the tenses. Pay attention to use the word changes. Pay attention to how to change the pronouns according to speakers. All pronouns are related to speakers, so please pay attention to that. Please find the lesson of direct and indirect speech in your books and try to solve the exercises found in the lesson, and I wish you all good luck.